Hello, good evening. It's time for your bedtime story. So I'm going to read for you The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. And this is my favourite bedtime story. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows. The old Onceler still lives there. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock on his door. He stays in his lurkim on the top of his store. He lurks in his lurkim, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in a 15 pence and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, making a most careful count to see that you've paid him the proper amount, and then he hides what you've paid him away in his snoove, his secret strange hold in his grovulous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-my-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slup! Down slups the whisper-my-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he has small bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding grey, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the ponds were still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the swoomy swans sang out in space. One morning I came across this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffler trees, the bright-coloured tufts of the truffler trees, mile after mile, and the fresh morning breeze. And under those trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits, and they played in the shade and ate truffler fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comforting sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffler trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts were much softer than silk, and the smell they had, the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart, and I knew just what I'd do. I had loaded my cart. In no time at all, I built a small shop, and I chopped down the first truffler tree with one chop. And with great skilful skill and great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The instant I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was a sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard, I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset. He shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my truffler tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped down just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses. Oh, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains or covers, for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There's no way on earth that anyone would buy that fool thneed. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I'd knitted was great, and he happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy, you can never tell what some people will buy. I repeat, said the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all I built a radio phone and I put a quick call. I called my brothers and uncles and aunts and I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Come over here fast, take the road to North Nitch, turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Sitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffler trees. Then, oh baby, then, oh how did my business grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was slow, so quickly I invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffler trees in one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and the Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I am the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who play in the shade in their barbaloot suits, now happily lived eating truffler fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffler fruit to go round, and my poor barbaloots are getting crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad, but as I watched them grow, well, business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered my loads. Of the thneeds I was shipping out, I was shipping them forth from south to east to west to north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes, and that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffled. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled and sniffled. Onceler, he cried with a crofulous croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swoomy swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing when they have smog in their throat. And so, the Lorax said, please pardon my cough, they cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape the smog you've smogged up round here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about Gluppity Glup. Your machinery trucks on day and night without stop, making Gluppity Glup and Sloppity Slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. You're galumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No, they can no more hum, for their gills are all gummed, and I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins, all woeful and weary, in search of some water that isn't so smeary. I hear things are just as bad up at Lake Erie. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, yap and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. More truffler trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the field came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree, and then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffler tree of them all. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time at all, my uncles, my aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into their cars and drove under the smog-smothered stars. Now all that was left, neath the bad-smelling sky, was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, gave me a very sad backward glance. He lifted himself up by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself off and took off from that place, through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. All that the Lorax left in this mess was a small pile of rocks and one word, unless. Whatever that meant, I just couldn't guess. That was long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffler seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last truffler seeds, and truffler trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffler, treat it with care, give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and his friends might once more come back. That's the end of that story. So now it's time to get tucked up in your tents and your dens and have a really good night's sleep. It's very important when we're at pack holidays and sleepovers to get that good night's sleep. So we'll see you in the morning.